Good morning. Hi guys. Welcome to Gramma's World. I'm Debbie and I have been looking forward to making this video for the almost a year that I've been working on becoming a YouTube video maker. My inspiration originally was to get good enough to do Vlogmas for 2019. I think I got 3 days posted, took 2 days off knowing I would go back and put them in because I was finishing up a renovation project and I was almost done and wanted to get it finished. And then my mother had a medical crisis that pretty much ate up the rest of December for me. So I have a lot of content. Maybe I'll get to it and backload it. I would really like to do that, but I don't know. I'm kind of, it's January 23rd already, and I'm kind of itching to move forward for what I want to accomplish for 2020. And that's what this video is. My original vision for Gramma's World was that I would use it as a place to keep myself accountable for progress made in a lot of different areas where I have things started but have not finished them. And what I want to do with this video is document those projects, show you how I intend to use my planner to keep on top of them, and YouTube to keep on top of them. And then my hope is to get back on Fridays. Today's Friday for me here, the 23rd of January. So I'm hoping to get back on Fridays and be able to show that progress, document that progress in a weekly vlog. So that's the goal. And we're gonna see how this is gonna go. The first thing that I will tell you that I don't need to show it to you, it's just a piece of paper where I've written down all of the different things that I am planning to work on and hope to accomplish in this next year. I don't need to show you that because I'm gonna walk around and show you everything that I need to be working on. The projects are in 3 different areas. The house projects, I have some renovations that need to be done. I have some, I guess I'll leave it at that, some renovations that need to be done, and there's a process I have to go through to do that. Some furniture that I took a chalk painting class and I know how I want these pieces of furniture to be done. I just haven't been able to take the next step. I have also a garden that needs a lot of work, and there is a timeline for that. I don't have a traditional garden. I have my goal is to have more of a native plant to attract critters. So it tends to look like a meadow. And my city code officer has decided that what I have is a yard full of weeds. And so what I need to do is, the plan is to kind of keep the weeds in planters so that they look what he calls weeds. California desert mallow, California golden poppies, sweet alyssum, honey clover. They're all things that the animals are all over. I had a nice crop of all of it last year. I had more praying mantis than I've seen in the whole 45 years I've lived at this house. I had ladybugs all over the place. I had all kinds of butterflies coming through and pollinating everything and laying eggs as they went. So it's going to be a nice meadow when I have it done. I just have to make it look like I planned for it to be that way so that they don't come around and try to antagonize me into making it look like the typical Southern California Bermuda grass and juniper arrangement. So anyway, I'm going to walk this around and show you my stuff and show you where I want to go with this. I'm going to start with my planner. Let's see if I can get this to flip down now. I've done this before, it should work. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I'll turn it your way and hope that you can actually see something. You don't have to read it, I just want to show you how it's set up. This is an Erin Condren planner. Let your dreams be your wings this year. It has butterflies on it. One of my hobbies is raising butterflies. And I used to decorate it, but I realized that for me, I wasn't getting that much out of the process of decorating it. It was mostly a procrastination tool for me. And so I kind of stopped doing it. If something special comes up, I will, you know, that I want to do some decorating, I will. I'm not against decorating by any means, but for me, it's actually going to be more useful to just get in there and get my stuff on paper. By the way, this is, I believe, a Michael's Recollections cover. And I like to use it because it gives me a place for things like, you know, I need to go to the bank and cash some checks. I'm going to a presentation tomorrow. Here's my ticket. I have to keep track of Disneyland passport blockouts because I take my mom once a month. My sister comes and helps. My Joanne coupons are in here. And then in the back are things like, for decorating. This is a piece of fabric I'm going to use as I redo my back room. These are the colors I used in a recent bathroom redecorating that I did, and I like to carry those. These are the ones I'm considering for my kitchen, or for my family room eventually. These are the colors that I used for my sewing room. So, and then this is a piece of fabric, and you'll see a piece of that in a minute for this as I get further on redoing my family room. So I just have this stuff with me. I take it to the store with me and have it with me all the time in case I have an opportunity to take a step toward making some of these dreams come true. So what I have on here, these are the things that I want to be accountable for this week. And then these are the daily schedules for getting them accomplished. And I'm going to turn them my way now so I can read them better. So for this week, I have some of the stuff that's on here is what I call personal growth. I'm working, let's see, can we compromise here? Maybe it would be better to do it this way, this one. See it a little bit, so we can see a little bit of it, that's fine. 10 years ago, I worked Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. It was transformational for me. And I loved doing it. And after I retired, I said, you know, I want to redo The Artist's Way. Because it's been 10 years, I've been through a lot of growth and a lot of changing. And I bet my perspective is different on a lot of the stuff that she asks us to reflect on and write on. So I went to her website to get a new copy of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and found out that about 2 days before I got into it, went to her site to order a new copy of the book, because my old one had sticky tabs and highlighting and all that, margin notes. She had just released a new book called It's Never Too Late to Begin Again. And it was an Artist's Way program that she developed for people who had retired. And I said, that's how the universe works. That's how synchronicity works. I asked and it was given. So I'm working on that right now. And that, when I say personal growth, it's those things that I'm doing that help me to move forward. And so right now what I'm doing is The Artist's Way. I also have in there, as part of personal growth, my routines. I, being retired, allow myself to wake with the sun most mornings. And the first thing that I have a routine, a ritual that I go through. Step by step, I go use the toilet and I brush my teeth and I come into the kitchen and I weigh myself. And then I make my tumbler of green tea for the day. And at that point, I'm usually awake enough to go into my happy room. It's my craft room, my sewing room. There's a chair in there. And meditate for 15 minutes. I use a Abraham Hicks guided meditation that I just love. Yeah, there are several, there are 5, and I use one of the 5. And then from there, I go in and do my morning pages. Part of the Julia Cameron program is writing 3 pages, stream of consciousness every morning. And I am happier and I'm more efficient through the course of a day if I make sure I do those things. And then I like to do something I call, Sharon Lovejoy calls it morning promise. And I like to do just some lovely thing. I have some Mary Oliver poetry I haven't read. I have just some books that I've been told are really lovely and I haven't read those. So just to read something, or just to get up and walk and go find something to appreciate. It is springtime here in Southern California. My violets are blooming. Some of my annuals, I've got a Shasta daisy peeking up through the oxalis that I have to pull out of their flower bed, cutting flower bed. But spring is here. The roses are starting to bud out, and I have my entire front yard right now is covered in baby golden poppies. It's going to be spectacular in about 6 weeks out there. So I like to walk out and find something to appreciate before I start my day. So one of my goals here, one of my goals in this side thing for the week is to do 100% of that personal growth, just to make sure that I do my morning practice on the days, my morning promise on the days that I have it in my planner. I can't do it every day. Some mornings I have to leave very early to go to another town and stay with my mom for the day. And this is not stuff that I can do when the TV's going or when I'm visiting with her. I really want to be more focused on her. But I have it in here for 4 mornings a week, my 4 mornings a week at home. I should be able to do morning promise. All my personal growth stuff I should be able to do 3 times a week. Also, at the end of the day, I have what I call evening reflection. And I have first of all, evening, after I've done my evening exercises, is when I do my Julia Cameron work on Artist's Way. That's part of my personal growth. And then I also have evening reflection. I have a 5-year diary that I make a short post in, and then I have a gratitude journal that it's not so much gratitude, it's just I try to find the 3 best things that happened during the day and make sure that I record them somewhere. And I want to make sure that I do that, all of that every day. And then I am getting back into intentional exercise. My food program that I am back to, I had done intermittent fasting and some longer day fastings and kind of a keto-based, protein and fat-based diet with some plants added. I don't like vegetables, so it's hard for me to get excited about adding them in, but I try to do it. From January to June of last year, and I felt fabulous. My ability to multitask came back again. That's my program. I don't like food. I don't like to eat. Intermittent fasting, I'm able to go on 2 meals a day. On those lucky days where I can do a 24 or a 72 hour, I don't have to think about cooking at all. It's wonderful. And so that's working for me. But what I haven't done during that time, other than working around the yard, is intentional exercise. And now that I'm just sitting really with my mom for 3 days a week, I'm really feeling the need to do that. Sorry. Something went down the wrong way, and it could only have been saliva because I'm not eating anything. Okay, so I think I know what I'm doing. I belong to a gym. I belonged for a long time. I haven't used it for a long time, but I'll get back to that for weights. And then there is a really pretty bike path, walk path along a creek where I live that's just a block up the street from where the gym is. And so my plan at this point is to go and go to the gym, go do the walk first. A nice 30-minute, just a stroll is all I need to do right now. And then go to the gym and do either arm weights or leg weights. I'll alternate days on those, and that'll be my intentional exercise. And my goal for this week is to get 100% of what I've planned in on that. So what's going to happen today is I'm going to finish this video. I'm going to change into my exercise clothes. I'm going to do part of a project that I'll be showing as part of this video, and then go do the exercise part. As far as my house projects that I'm working on, I want by the end of this week, or the end of next week, no, the end of this week, so by tomorrow, I guess, I want to have cleaned out my back room, and you'll understand what I'm doing there when I do the video. I want to have that done, if not all of it, most of it. I also want to make sure that I have taken the Christmas decorations down out of my front room, which is part of the renovation, and my hallway. I should be able to complete that. Except I'm going to leave the Christmas tree up in there for now. It's an artificial tree. It's not really in the way for now, mostly because I like it. But I'm going to take the ornaments off and pack them up and put them away, store those away. And then I want to get on my spring quilt, and I'll show you the spring quilt. I'm quilting, well, you'll understand better when I show it, but there are boxes of muslin that have embroidery in them, and all I'm doing to quilt that quilt, because I did the quilting, I did the embroidery on those through the bat. So it's already secured. The bat is already secured to the top, and all I'm doing is doing lengths of straight quilting along the edges of those bands. And so I want to have finished 2 lengths of those by the end of this week. And then I want to have worked 1 strand of floss into a project called Firefly Fairies that I'll be showing you in a minute. And then I want to be working outside by the end of my day tomorrow, which will be about noon, because I have some things I have to do in the afternoon and evening tomorrow. I want to have pruned a rose I have that's called Hot Cocoa, and I want to clear the grass that's under that. So I'm going to leave the planner, pick up the camera, and show you some of the things that I'm working on for 2020. I'm going to start with some of the craft things I do, some of my hobby things that I start and then I don't tend not to finish. And I'm putting them kind of in order of importance. There are 3 projects anyway that I'm putting in order of importance. And the first one is this. I made this, and it's probably going to be hard to see. It's an advent calendar quilt. And I made it when my youngest son was 3. If I get it aligned correctly here. Okay. So it looks like this. There's a tumbling blocks Christmas tree in the middle. And then there are 24 presents around to make the border. And I would fill these with candies and little toys when they were little. So my youngest was 3 and my oldest was 6 when I started this. And they were still doing it into their 20s. They just liked the whole process, I guess. What I put into the boxes changed over time. They weren't as excited by little Hot Wheels as they were in their teens. They weren't as excited with the little Hot Wheels as they were when they were 3 and 6. But I would just, put a couple quarters in each box, and by the end of, the 25 days, they would have collected enough to go to lunch or something. But they liked doing it. The box number 24 was always a giant candy cane, and one of my favorite pictures is of my youngest, and my kids had mutual good friends, one of the good friends, watching him take his candy cane out, and he's really hamming it up, so it was a lot of fun. But he was in his 20s when he was doing that. Anyway, so that younger son enjoyed that so much. And I made the chocolates, by the way, that went in. I'd make suckers and little, bite-sized chocolates. He enjoyed that so much that he now has his own chocolate molds, buys his own Merkins chocolates, excuse me. And one of his job where he works is that he goes city to city and pulls permits for air conditioning, for an air conditioning company. Sorry. We'll see if that's distracting enough that I have to edit it out. And he makes chocolates at Christmas time, bags them up, and takes them and gives them to the clerks in the various city halls that he works with. I thought that was pretty wonderful. And then I happened to go to this city and have to go to the building department and talk to these clerks myself. They were all former construction people. They were all burly men. And the fact that he did that and that they enjoyed it so much, it just, it was like, you know, yay. Something that I kind of started as a fun thing to do at home stuck. So that was fun. At any rate, he's my son with the not quite 2-year-old. And I asked him, do you want one of those calendars for yourself? And his answer was yes, he did. I can't find fun Christmas. It's quilted on 2 sides. It makes the project so much easier. And I cannot find it, this stuff. Not here in Southern California. I looked all year. I went online. I went on Etsy. Nobody had it, anything for Christmas. And then I went on a trip in October, late October, to Massachusetts and asked my friend if we could go to her Joann because I thought maybe I could find something there. And I sort of did. It's not child-oriented the way I'd hoped, but it is definitely Christmas. And so I have my background material. And now I'm going to pull out of my stash the fabric for the boxes. This is my #1 priority for this year. I definitely want to be able to give that little family their own Christmas Advent calendar in time to start for Christmas. So this is project #1. So I'm back. It looks like I took off for a wardrobe change, and I did not. I'll explain that in a minute, but I'm getting such a kick out of the dust motes. The dust is just flying, just normal dusty stuff. At least at my house it is. But I'm sitting in a sunbeam, and so it's kind of like magical, magical pixie dust floats across the camera. Can you see it over there? So anyway, it's making me giggle. No, I didn't go make a wardrobe change. What happened was I was recording the a very long video that I was going to chop up into pieces. And it was my goals for 2020, the things that I need to set out for myself to accomplish this year. I really want a lot of stuff to come together this year. And it includes not only handwork projects, but also things around my house, things in my garden, some furniture refinishing, all those things. We're going to go into this one long, and they will, and go into this one long introducing my goals for 2020 video. And my camera, and this is, I've learned since I started fighting this, shuts off automatically from time to time. And if I get really involved in what I'm talking about, I don't notice that the little record indicator up there, I don't notice that it is shut off. So that happened while I was introducing one of my 3 really important things that I want to complete this year, which was a piece of cross stitch. And so I'm going to say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I fell in love with this piece by Marilyn Levitt Imblum called Firefly Fairies. And it's partially snapped up. And this is as far as I've gotten on it. Oh, I left the picture in another room. I'm going to run and pick that up. Hold on. Okay, I had to run and get this was the picture that was on, wow, on the pattern in her on her website. The website is called Told in a Garden, and Marilyn Levitt Emblem passed a few years ago, I think. But the garden is still, as far as I can tell, I haven't tried to order anything from them, but if you go to TIAG.com, they're still listing patterns and so on. So I assume that it's still in business. At any rate, I love all things fairies, and I loved this. I loved her design. I tried twice to do the die to get the candlelight unsuccessfully, and so I went looking to see if I could just buy a piece of fabric already done, and I believe I went to 1 2 3 Stitch to get it, and I really love it. I really feel like it looks like they're lighting their way through the dark. This is a linen, and I'm just not into it. I wasn't into it when I bought it. I want to say 28. It's my first linen experience. I don't love it, although I do love how beautiful the piece is coming out on it. This part down here was really challenging because there's so little contrast between the blues. But it's going well, and I'm loving it, and I really want to finish it. I'm almost finished with the floss here with the green, and when the floss is done, I will mount it onto, I'll press it out and then mount it onto a really big set of Q-snaps that I have to do the metallics. So anywhere there's, appears to be empty space, there are either metallics, all down here. Her hem is half metallics in here, and so on. There, it's everywhere. Like here on this one is going to be metallics, either metallics or beads. So the push to get this done this year, first of all, it's been languishing for years, but part of the push, let me back up. Part of the reason I haven't worked on it that quickly is that I used to own a condo in Utah, in northern Utah, in the Ogden Valley, from 2002 until 2 years ago. And that's where I would work on this. And I saved it to work there because there was no dog in that condo ever. And I didn't want dog hair and dog smell getting into this piece. And so I would only work on it on the times when we went up on a trip to visit that condo, and I could sit for days at a time and kind of peck away at this. I've sold the condo, but I don't have a dog, so I can go ahead and work on it here. And I want to get it done. I'm watching friends who are older than I am. I'm 68, and they're in their 70s and 80s. As it becomes more difficult to do this kind of thing, their eyesight, my eyesight's great thanks to multiple surgeries, but I do have to wear reading glasses to work on it and use a magnifier to work on it. I also have arthritis developing in my fingers, particularly that one. And I can get it as long as I keep carbohydrates and sugar out of my diet. I can bend it. But it's just a matter of time before these things get to be more and more challenging to do. So while I can still do it and still have fun with it, I want to finish this one. And when I do, I already know this will be the kind of the pinnacle of what I do, because I don't see myself doing much of, how can I say this? I love it. I love working on it for multiple reasons, but I can't really say that I have enjoyed the tedious pace of it, because there is so much. What's making it beautiful is time-consuming and tedious to do and difficult on linen. So I don't see myself really tackling one like this again. So I want to finish it, and when I do, it will be my masterpiece cross-stitch piece, and then I'll be doing things that are simpler and faster, and probably. So this piece is one, Firefly Fairies is one that I want to finish in 2020. I will mention while I'm on it, I'm a huge Disney freak, huge Disneyland freak. Still my favorite of the classical animation movies is Sleeping Beauty. And I worked on this thing for probably 10 years before I realized that this had to have been inspired by the fairies in Sleeping Beauty. And I didn't realize it until I rewatched the movie. Notice how they have their little petticoats with their tiny little feet showing. There's a scene in the movie Sleeping Beauty where the fairies, I think it's where they're flying quickly out of the castle to go rescue Philip. And as they fly away, they have exactly this configuration. They're flying away from you, and you can see all these petticoats with these tiny little feet sticking in them. And that's when it hit me. That's like Firefly Fairies. And I went back and looked, and sure enough, there's Flora, and there's Fauna, and there's Merryweather, which made me love this even more and want it even more. And that's when I kind of got it out and started working on it. Very happy to report that with my magnifier and my reading glasses and decent light, it's still fairly easy to do. So I'm hopeful. I'm determined that this is going to get done this year. So if the Firefly Fairies are going to be my masterpiece as far as cross-stitch, then this is going to be my masterpiece as far as embroidery. This quilt is based on a quilt designed by Barry Sue Godet, who has the company Bare Roots. I love all of her stuff. I have over a dozen patterns that I've bought from her over the years. Every one of them I'd love to do. I don't know if I'm going to get to many of them, but this one was what attracted me to it were these rings of color. It's called What Color is Spring, and in it what is like a 4 or 6 inch block of appliqued flowers, and I didn't want to do that block. I had this Crabapple Hill pattern that I'd been wanting to embroider, the sampler pattern. And I said, you know, I could do the sampler that I've been wanting to do. I love these daisies. That's what I really wanted to do, were the daisies. At any rate, I said, I'm going to do that and put that in the middle of the quilt and build from there. So I did. I raided my mom's quilt fabric stash. She had a quilt shop for a while, and she and I are both addicted to fabrics and color, and so I raided her stash. In Barry Sue's pattern, there's pink, yellow, green, blue, and purple, and I found this bunch of orange colorway in my mom's stash, and I said, oh, I have to have a row of orange in there. So I put the row of orange, and then I went to Barry Sue's book on borders that she designed, and I picked this one out as one of the bands. The point of all that is that it's because it's four-sided. Everything I changed and made bigger made the quilt bigger. This is supposed to be a wall hanging, and not a particularly large one at that. But because I kept adding to it, it was like growing exponentially. And I now have a top that is going to take up a great deal of wall space. It probably would cover a queen-size bed, but there's too much work in it, and I use too many hand-dyed flosses to ever think about washing it. So it's not going to be in a bed. I'm just going to hang it on a wall and leave it there till I die. So just to go kind of quickly through it, and all of the embroidery is done now. So we'll start here in the middle. So like I said, you've seen this. This is the Crabapple Hill sampler. Then it goes to pink, and pink has hearts with ladybugs and holly. I call these the hollyhocks. And then the orange row has this. It's a piece of bias tape with this little vine going around it. The yellow row is darling. I had so much fun with this. These are little, I made little daffodils. I can't remember what she put here, but I decided to kind of do these. It's just a take on a Lazy Daisy stitch daffodil. And then these are her little chicks that she designed. And they're so darling. And then when you get to the other side here, we go up to a bunch of sunflowers. And then we get into a couple of bees, some butterflies, some lazy daisies, the sun applique, that's the only applique I did. And then it repeats on the way back. The green row was my favorite to do, and I started, this is not necessarily what she designed, but I did what she designed toward the end a little bit and said, you know, to me this row screams spring grass. And so I went and bought several skeins, it turned out, of, I think it's Gentle Arts Kiwi, and did the grass in that. And I am so happy with the way it turned out. Berry Sue, this is her ladybug and her bug and her French knot snake, or caterpillar, I guess. I love French knots. But I added a few. I added a little snake in the grass over there. This was her snail and her bug. And I decided as I worked on this that this actually needed a praying mantis. So that's my praying mantis that I put in there. The blues are, it's pretty much all the same all the way around. The bluebirds and forget-me-nots, I think is what these are. When you get on this side, she added a birdhouse on a pedestal. There's something going on. Yeah, there were bluebirds. There were just the bluebirds up at the top. And then the purple one, this was actually the first row I finished. Because of the way it was set up, I said, oh, I can do one of these emblems every day until I have this done. And that's what I did. Just go around doing the emblems, and then I went back and did the butterflies. All that needs to happen with this now, the back is on, and it's basted for quilting. And the only quilting I'm going to do with this is to run a line of just straight quilting stitches along the insides of these strips. I did the embroidery through the bat, so the bat is held on to the top by the embroidery, and all I really need to do now is attach all of it to the back. And so I'm going to run that row of straight stitches through both of that, and then bind it, I think, with this. If I had found this, this was in my mind for the whole time I was working on this quilt, almost this exact fabric. It didn't exist, and I kept looking for something like it, and looking for something like it, and looking for something like it, and this is the way the universe works for me. As soon as I finished the embroidery on it, I found the fabric. I would have used it for the back as well, except that my mother had already gifted me with this, which I also love. So I'm just going to put a simple rolled binding around this and call it done. So what has to happen in 2020 is I need to finish that quilting and put the binding on it and put a hanger on it, and then find a wall space, which will be the hardest part of this because I don't have much wall space. But that is my third of the projects that have to get done this year. The Christmas pocket Christmas present advent calendar for my son,
Firefly Fairies cross stitch, and this quilt. Those are my half-twos.
In addition to my have-tos, I also have some want-to things that I'd like to get done this year. Starting with this stack here. I was really lucky. For about 12 years, my husband and I owned a condominium in northern Utah. And one of the things that had me believing that I was supposed to live there was that it was just outside of Ogden. And it was actually in the Ogden Valley. And there is the most magical cross-stitch shop there. And I said, oh, I have to live here so that I'm near this shop. It's called Shepherd's Bush. And it is a cross-stitcher's dream come true. I mean, you just cannot believe when you walk into Shepherd's Bush what they're doing in this shop. It's incredible. And I love their designs. And so I picked up several of their Scatter series. And I finished this one. It says Scatter Hearts and Kisses. And what I want to do is make a pillow out of this. Now, I've had this done for quite a while. And I have never been able to make myself. I know what fabrics I want to use. I want to use, first, this is the way they finish it on their pattern. And this isn't what I want. I want something really frou-frou, really frilly. I want a ruffle around it. I want some ribbons on it. I want to really girly girl it up. And so these are some of the fabrics that I bought. I think this is the one I'm going to use for sure with it. Am I even showing this? Let's go back to here maybe. And I also have this bright pink that is going to be like between them. So these are the kind of the basis for what I want to do with this pillow. And then I have a few others that I can work in depending on what I decide, that are just kind of pretty and frilly and go. I beg your pardon. Having a little allergy attack here. I couldn't make myself put this together because it doesn't match my bed. I want to put it on my bed. This doesn't match my bedspread. And so I'm kind of not inspired to do it because I don't really have the place for it yet. And in a minute or in a few minutes, we'll get over to why I'm suddenly excited to do this piece. But this is kind of at the top of the stack of, yeah, I really want to finish this. I really want to do this. This box is full of the projects. If I could get a day where I don't have to go anywhere and I don't have to do anything, I could probably finish them all up if I just totally focus and really work on them. And that day is going to come up here pretty soon, I think, because I'm going to do a 24-hour fast. And when I do a 24-hour fast, I just stay home. I call it a retreat, and I just love not having to cook or eat. So my next 24-hour fast will be coming up next month, and I will do. And I'm going to try to get these all done. The first thing, I am nuts about the British cross-stitch magazines, especially Cross Stitch Crazy, because they carried so many Margaret Sherry designs. And of course, Margaret Sherry passed last year. It just broke my heart because I love her stuff, and I have an awful lot of it. I would never. I was going to say this in the introduction earlier on, but I forgot, but I'll say it now. About 10 years ago, I went through all of my projects and just counted the major projects, not the ones I could sit down and maybe crank out in a couple of weekends, but the ones that were going to take a lot of effort and time and money to do. And I figured out that if I did one a year of just the major projects, I would have to live to be 130 to get them all done. Now that was 10 years ago, and I haven't finished any of them. But I have bought more. So I'm not worried about running out of things to do, and things that I love to do, that I'm gonna love to do, including this little guy. This is one of Margaret Sherry's. It's called Christmas Kitten, and he's done. I didn't realize that until I got him out for this. I thought I still had more back stitching to do, but I don't. He's done. And what has to happen to him is that he gets mounted into this frame. Let's see if I can get him lined up. It's a little bit tricky, but not overly so. And then he just looks like he's hanging there in that Christmas wreath. I've never finished him because I didn't know what I was going to do with him. It's not really, it doesn't fit my house. I'm not really a cat freak anymore. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. And I just didn't know what I was going to do with him. And now I know exactly what I'm going to do with him. So that's one of the things that's in this Finish This Quickly box, is to get him done in time for the thing that I know I'm going to do. And here are the pieces. Oh, here's the picture of it as it was in the magazine. He was a fun little project to do, and I was able to run the frame through my scanner. I ran the frame through my scanner and made more, in case I ever want to make more of him. But he definitely needs to get finished. And then this is not a cross-stitch project. This is something that I picked up. I have very good friends in Massachusetts who let me come and live in the paradise that is the East Coast in the fall with them. And the first year I went, she took me to a quilt shop. They live north of Boston, almost to the New Hampshire border. And in Salem, New Hampshire, there's a fabulous quilt shop, and I'm not going to be able to remember the name right now. But she had these pennant triangles, and I got my friends done and sent to her. I'd finish them at home, but I sat and hand sewed them while we hung out. And then, of course, I'm showing you that they're already right sides together to sew together. Here are the colors of it. But this gives you an idea. And then I never finished my own set. So this is something that will happen on that day, and then I'll have it ready for Halloween this year. Look at this thing, that cracks me up. These people on the hands. So anyway, that's one of the things that's in the box that could get finished in one day if I set a day aside for it. This is, her name is Ayuko, I think. Yeah, Ayako. And she had a little blog called Windy Willows, and she had designed this, I think this might be a tissue box, and this is a needle keep here, up here. I love her patterns, and I did a few of them, printed them off, a few of them, off her blog. This is the one I did, and I had a whole bolt, as it were, roll of this gorgeous mint green fiddler. And so I worked it in green on the fiddler, just a variegated floss. And I want to do a needle keep that I can use. I think what I'm going to do is run a piece of ribbon down the side. I'm going to make it wide enough, let's do it this way, to run a piece of ribbon down the side here, like a little pillow, maybe with a piece of cardboard in it to make it stiff, that I can slide the low-ran, is it here? No. I wonder what I did with that. I slide a low-ran project floss holder in, and then the needles can just go through the cross stitch. And then the final thing I have in here, this was, I'm a big fan of Natalie Limer. She's an Australian cross stitch designer, and she posted this as a freebie one year. And I just thought it was adorable, and I finished it up. I know what I want to do with it. I want to make a cover for this notebook. Oops, clever of me. Because it's really a nice notebook, but I don't like the cover on it. So I'm going to use this fabric, and just, that's something I think that would go together pretty quickly. Not that I need another notebook or journal, but it would be nice to have one that I can slip in my purse rather than be the big journal size. This is how she finished it. Super cute. So that is my one-day box, and that is part of my 2020 goals, is to get this one-day box emptied. And also, as far as cross stitch, I have one other, it's been a long time since I've communicated in the cross stitch community, so I don't know if this term is still appropriate, but they were what we call BAPs, a big ass project. And it usually applied to things like the Heaven and Earth projects or some of the other, something huge, really huge to work on. I have what I call MAPs. They're medium ass projects because they're not that big, but for me, they take a lot of time. And certainly while I was teaching, I didn't have time. That's kind of why I got out of cross stitch. It was something reserved for, not even for weekends because you're grading papers and stuff, but for holidays and that kind of stuff. And this is when I started. I saw this magazine and picked it up. In 1992 is when I picked this up and started this. I just fell in love. I love Santas anyway. I collect Santas. Here is the full thing. I have a second copy of this magazine that I bought somewhere on a, someone getting rid of it. And I said, ooh, just in case, I think I'm going to have that in my collection. I think he is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I got started on him. Because it is, the whole thing, except for the border, is solid cross stitch. I just started him on an ivory Aida cloth that I had here at home. I had a big piece of it. I think it was about a, what does this look like? Maybe an 11, and I got almost that, I'd say, to where my hand is. I got almost all of I got Santa done, the top of the list done, and almost all of the stuff, where's my hand? Almost all of the stuff in the sack done. And realized that when it was all finished, I wasn't going to like it because of this border being just the plain Aida cloth. I wasn't going to like it. And so I ditched the whole thing that I had already done, and it took, like all my spare time. There are lots of half crosses, and there's just a lot of confetti in this. And so it had taken a lot of time to do it, but I said, there's no point. There's no point in finishing this because I'm not going to like it. My eye is going to go right to that Aida, and I'm not going to like it. So I started over again on a fiddler that I love, and I love the way it's going to, I can really see how it's going to turn out. And this is where I am so far on that second attempt. I don't really have any aspirations to finish this year, but I would like to make a commitment to myself to do something on it. Maybe it's something every week, maybe it's something every month, I don't know. But I would like to see myself make some progress on this. And then I have a couple of new pieces that I really do love that would be quick, kind of quick and satisfying and easy to do. And one of them is this, it's Diane Grick for Silver Creek Samplers. And I think that I don't usually like doing alphabets, but this is a fun alphabet. And I love the saying, and I would love to get this up in my house somewhere. It says, take a breath, gently blow, spread your dreams and let them grow. And the fact that it has the dandelion on it, I know a code officer thinks the dandelions are weeds. Guess what? They're edible plants, and my tortoise collection loves them, so they stay. And I have that kitted up. I'm ready to go with that one. And then I'm in the process of renovating, redecorating. Well, some of it's renovation and some of it's redecorating my house into away from a farm theme. And you see, this is the farm theme back here. I never did hate it. I really like it, but I am now shifted. Most of the things I loved about the farm, I used to visit the farm. My uncle had a farm. My aunt and uncle had a farm in Kansas. And I was very close to one of my cousins, and we would go visit about every third year, and I loved the farm. I loved visiting the farm. And it's all gone now. My uncle retired, he sold the farm, bought a little house in a darling little town in northeastern Kansas. He passed. My cousin that I was close to passed. We were 3 weeks away in age. She was, for me, way too young to have gone. And then my aunt passed. And I still have a cousin that I love very much who lives there, but he lives in the little town. Kind of the whole farm thing doesn't exist for me in reality anymore. So I'm shifting to the other thing that I love more than anything, which is the coast. The sea. I love being on the ocean. I love going whale watching. I love driving up. I have one of the big rookeries for, I guess that's what they call it, elephant seals, which I love, is just a 4-hour drive for me, and I love driving up there. And at any rate, the last time I was at Shepherd's Bush, I found this pattern, and I just redid my bathroom. And I'm in the process of redoing my family room, and next will be my guest room because I'm going to need it this summer. These are needle keeps. I think they're little. Yeah, they're keeps. And that was part of what appealed to me, is they're charming. They're so tiny. They're really about this big. But while I was there looking for the fabric for this, I found this piece of fabric, and it just screamed ocean at me. And then after I looked at the label of it, it actually had an ocean name of some kind. It's 11, and I said, you know what? If I stack these, let's see if I can get this to work. I can give it enough. Oh, and it's actually called Cape Cod Keep. And I was in Cape Cod for the first time this past fall, so visiting those friends in Massachusetts, we went and spent a night there. So, I don't know how this is going to work, but if I stack them, because the chart's 11 and the paper's 11, I could have this nice little sampler on this gorgeous fabric. So that's what I'm going to do with this. And because it's an Ida and has big squares for my old eyes, I think that it is, I think it's going to be easy to do, she says, hopefully. Here are the glosses that I picked out. I changed a few. By the way, Shepherd's Bush, when they do a model, they don't necessarily use the colors that were recommended. And if they change colors, they give you the list of colors they actually used in their model. Okay, So what I did was go by their colors. And I think I used both of them simultaneously because I'm not using a cream colored background. I'm using a deep blue. This actually, the camera isn't even picking it up. This is deeper blue. I fell in love with this one, and if I can figure out a way to work this in, this is Sampler Threads Gentle Art. This is Deep Sea. And I'm going to show these colors. I don't even know if they make them anymore because I've had them for a few years, but that's Deep Sea. And then I'm using some of these others. This is Driftwood, Antique Lace, Sweetest Heart. I have that name. Black Coffee, Old Purple Paint, Pebble. Were these all? Some of these are Simply Shaker, but they're all, I think they're all Gentle Art. Now there's Classic Colorworks was this one. All these are, yeah, all of these. Black Coffee, Sweetest Heart, Deep Sea. These are all, oh, that's Gentle. These are Classic Colorworks. Lexington Green, how cool. I was on Lexington Green this fall when I went to Massachusetts. So that's another shaker. Classic Colorworks Blue Corn. Classic Colorworks Ye Olde Gold. Classic Colorworks Prairie Grass. And Weeks Dye Works Pelican Gray. Pelican Gray? Yeah, Pelican Gray. One of my son's favorite birds. My older one's favorite birds is pelican. Weeks Dye Works Sand. And Classic Colorworks Dublin Bay. So I cannot wait to get my needle into this and get this started. So I just have to figure out in my planner, in my plans, how am I going to divide up my seat time. This one, I could probably work on this one at my mother's house when I go stay with her. The lighting is pretty good at her house, and I'll just put that aside for now. The lighting is pretty good there, and that would be something that I could do in a comfortable chair. It's big enough, I don't think I'll need my magnifier for that. It's not a floss, it's not a cross stitch piece, but this is one of my goals for this year, is to get this piece framed. Like I said, I like to go see elephant seals. They're up by San Simeon, which is just slightly beyond the town of Cambria on the Central California coast. And that Cambria, Morro Bay is actually where heaven starts for me. Morro Bay, Cayucos, Cambria, San Simeon, and then all the way up into Big Sur, Carmel, Monterey. I would drive that back and forth every day for the rest of my life, if I could. My husband introduced me to that area. I had never been there before. It was immediate love at first sight. I felt this is where my soul needs to be. And one of the places that we checked out while we were in Carmel was an incredible shopping area called the Barnyard. And it's buildings that look like barns around an incredible, gorgeous garden with brick sidewalks. And at that time, this was when my son was about 6 weeks old, there was a needlepoint shop called, I think it was actually called Les Nouvelles. I think that's how you pronounce that. My battery's dying. At any rate, the Barnyard, Carmel. Feel free to correct me on my pronunciation. I don't speak French. I think it's Les Nouvelles, but I don't know. And I would like to learn what it really is. At any rate, there I was in my happy place with my brand new son and found this petty point piece of otters. And the otters hang out up there. We had not seen one that day, I don't think, but that trip. But I still fell in love with this and managed to get it done. By golly, I am shocked when I look back on it. And it's been, that son who was 6 weeks old is now 41. That's how long this has been tucked away. I found a framer who said he thinks he can frame it without me having to block it. But one way or another, this is another thing on my list for 2020 is to finally get this framed. It will go perfectly in my new, I've been redecorating my family room for quite a while. So it'll either go perfectly in there or in my new, the guest room that I'm going to get started on. In addition to the Where is Spring quilt that I'm committed to finishing this year, excuse me. In addition to the What Color is Spring quilt, now I'm going to have hiccups, that I'm committed to finishing this year, I have a couple of other quilts I would really like to be working on. And one of them, I have bought fabric probably 3 times to make a new quilt for my bedroom. And I could never get started on it, never get started on it, never get started on it. And then like 2 years ago, I think, what is this? This is Wilmington. Wilmington Prints came out with this print called Rainbow Seeds. And it was designed by Lisa Audit. And oh my gosh, I have never fallen so quickly and so thoroughly for a piece of fabric as I did for this entire line called Rainbow Seeds. And I said, that's it. That's what I want in that bedroom. And I realized, and I bought a bunch of it. This is the basis for what I'm going to do. This is the pink hydrangea. I bought a lot of it in pink and a lot of it in blue. Okay. And then had this big debate, which one was I going to make the dominant color? And I was sitting in my room thinking about this, in my bedroom, thinking about what color, and happened to look out. One of the reasons I love my bedroom, it's a tiny little room, it's 10 by 10, and my bed is a twin bed. But the reason I stay in there is that I have a really pretty garden that I put right outside that window. And right under the window are hydrangeas growing. And most of them, I have 2 of them that I will occasionally try to blue up, but for the most part, I'm fine with the pink. And so most of them under that window are pink. And I thought that would be so amazing to have this quilt with this be the dominant color and then have the hydrangeas blooming outside in the summertime. So I'm going to go with this pink, and then I'll do shams, and the quilt, I just want to duplicate the quilt that's on it, and the part that hangs down kind of goes like this, and there are 3 different strips in there and piping and the whole thing, and I want to duplicate that. So that's where I'll use these kinds of things. But there are companion prints, all kinds of companion prints for this line for Rainbow Seeds. And they're all wonderful. Butterflies, and anyway, I'm super excited. I want to finalize the plan on this quilt and get it to where I'm at least doing 1 block a week, or even 2 blocks a month would get me a good distance in 2020 toward actually getting this on my bed. So that is in the works for 2020. And then that brings me back to my scatter hugs and kisses it is, because I kept this years and years and years and years, and now guess what, it goes with this. So now I'm excited to get this pillow made, and I'm thinking I may even work this fabric into the pillow. I can use this one, they go together great, but it would be fun to have maybe 1 pieced band or something out of this to make it really go with that bed set. So that's in the works. And then the final thing, as far as handwork that I want to get started on, I would love to have finished it last year, but I probably won't even finish it this year. But I have in my house. You come in my front door and there's a wall there. So you're in my entry and you go through this entry arch thing. It's not really an arch, it's just an opening. If you turn to the right, you go to where all the bedrooms and bathrooms are. And if you turn to the left, you go into the kitchen and then through to the family room. And so there's a big blank wall space there, and I have some lawyers' bookcases, and I decorate the shelf on top of that for the holidays. And then I like to have a quilt behind it. So I have a quilt behind it at Christmas of Santa's. I have a quilt behind it at Halloween, and I want to do this quilt for Valentine's Day. I collect Kewpies, and so I've had this for quite a while. This is Katie and Johnny. Katie O'Cupe and Johnny, and I can't remember his last name. The Kewpies were designed by an amazing magazine illustrator named Rose O'Neill. And she lived in many places, but her actual home for the longest time that people really associate her with is in Branson, Missouri. And I don't know what it looks like now because Branson has really grown up into kind of the Las Vegas of the Midwest as far as shows go. So I don't know what happened to Rose O'Neill's. It was called Bonnie Brook. And that is where kind of her heritage was being kept for a while. She has a nephew or a great nephew who is really honoring her work. So I was glad to see that. At any rate, I want to finalize the plans. I'm kind of thinking some kind of arrangement like this, but it needs to be wider than it is tall to fit where I want it to be. So I haven't quite gotten there yet. I know that I want to use some pieced hearts, small pieced hearts and patches and all. And this is the fabric that I bought. This is the main fabric I want to use with it. This is one of Rose O'Neill's birds. And this company did a really good job of making an all-over print with these little birds. So I'm really happy about that. They also did some hearts. This is Riley Blake, by the way. Yeah, Love by the RBD designers, Kewpie Corporation. All rights reserved, Riley Blake. Okay, so this is part of the line. I love this one. I think I bought quite a bit of that. That's part of the line. This is part of the line. That's precious, isn't it? And then this one I bought the most of. So it'll probably be the back. And then this piece is not part of it, but I thought it was so cute. I'd love to work it in. This is a Kaufman fabric by Lori Wisbron. And it says, you know, my dearest darling, cherish, love, sweetheart, honey, I adore you. It would be cute worked in there somehow. The pieces that I love, but I have a bit of an issue with, are the actual Kewpie pieces. So I have this one, and there's Kewpie with Kewpie Doodle Dog. And this one, where is it? Is it showing here? Yeah, on the back of the bluebird. Back of the bird, where did it go? Don't I have one here? So I'll show you this one. He's flying on the back of the bird, which I think is darling. I love it. I love it. I love it. Everything about this fabric except Kewpies don't wear diapers. And it's like a sacrilege to me that they saw them as babies. They don't know what Kewpies are. So they just thought they were babies and they put diapers on them. Kewpies don't even have equipment, so there's no reason for that. There's one with the butterflies. But I have that in different colors anyway. I bought it a few times because I kept trying to just, you know, for a while it was just going to be in the museum, and then I said, oh no, you got to do something with this. I cut one patch just to see how big they turn out to be. And then this is a nice one too. Be Mine Cutie Pie. And there's another issue with this, if you know anything about Rose O'Neill and her history with the Cupie, which of course these people apparently didn't. The Cutie is a counterfeit Cupie doll, which was something that Rose O'Neill fought for her entire career, was people trying to copy her Cupie dolls. And she was a savvy businesswoman, and she held on to her patents, and she prosecuted, and she made sure that she kept those things true to form. There's a story about her that during the war, all of the Cupies were all manufactured in Germany, and so that had to change during World War II. But before the war, while she was still in Germany, they were making little tiny ones, little tiny Cupies about this big, and I think they would sell for a penny. And she went to the plant and was looking around, checking them out, and realized that they were not making these little tiny ones of the same quality as the bigger ones. And she made them trash them and start over again. And she said the poor children deserve a good Cupie just as much as the rich children do. And so she made them do them all again. And then this one comes with a pink background. So I would love to be able to get a start on this. I would love to have it finished by a year from February, by the Valentine's Day 2021. But I know that I don't know how long this particular piece is going to be, probably an hour of talking about the things that I want to accomplish just in terms of handwork. So I'm not going to commit myself to this. I'm just going to put it on my wish list and see if I can figure out a way to work it in. Some of these things might not take as long as I think they do. I think they will. So that's the fiber. I call it my fabric and fiber part of the channel, or that's what I'm going to call it, Gramma's World Fabric and Fiber. And my projects that I want to do that let me use part of what I call a museum. I buy stuff all the time, and I love it, and I love to visit it. It brings me joy, Marie. And I'm going to be purging a lot of it. Like I said, it would take me 130 years to make all the major projects, and so some of the minor ones also need to be in that list, and I'm going to have to decide what's going to have to go. Opening an Etsy shop. I think I did it. I'm not sure, because I haven't done anything with it, but I think I signed up for it. It would be called Gramma Diz Deb. And I certainly will let you know if that ever really gets going, but that's where a lot of this, I already have a huge box of vintage cross-stitch books to go, because who wants to do that old stuff when you have this new stuff? But there may be people who are beginners that those would be really appropriate for. So I'm going to close this segment down, and thank you if you lasted this long. You're wonderful. And of course, the way things are working right now with YouTube, I've never really asked people to subscribe to my channel or even encouraged them to. I figured they would if they wanted to. But yeah, go ahead and click the button if you are so inclined, because like I said, I want to be accountable, and it would help me be accountable if there were people actually watching me be accountable out there. So thank you. And again, FlossTube, you're awesome. And I am going to be really happy checking in with you from time to time, keeping me on target. Have a great day, everybody.